Good afternoon, Senate Institutions, back in action Wednesday, February 15th. And we have the honor of having President, is it Greenwald?
That's correct.
And from the Vermont State College Systems. And welcome this afternoon, and glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we had you folks in the other day, and I thought we had a pretty cordial visit, and then some news broke about some libraries and some sports teams and stuff like that. So we thought that we might have you back in and just give us an overall view about about what you guys propose to do and how you arrived at that decision making, and I'm sure that there might be some questions after that, sir. So whenever you're ready, feel free to go.
Thank you very much. Again, thank you for having me here today. I appreciate the opportunity. And I want to share with you the two decisions that we have announced within the institution. One is related to the libraries, the other is related to some changes to our athletics programs on different campuses. The library, I will begin with the library decision. We have proposed that we will invest in building a digital library. As you know, that we are going through a major transformation. And through this transformation project, through the select committee reports recommendations, we are to become a state's first hybrid university. That hybrid university is to enhance access to our courses and degree programs throughout the state. As you know, that we have sites that are like 15, 16 sites, nursing sites, where we offer our programs. We also offer our programs through online. More and more students have started to access our materials digitally. Now, only 4% of the material requested from the library is physical material, that's books or other materials. 96% of our requests are coming as digital need. So we are transforming our library along with all the other work that we are doing so that we can expand access to all the students and faculty that need materials this way. That said, we will continue to maintain a librarian in each of our campuses. We would also we are working with our faculty to determine what physical material and books that they are essential for their programs and they would want to keep. We would also work with our community as a whole, that would be students and staff and faculty, to re-envision the library spaces to create more learning spaces for students as individual students and also as a group of students doing their projects and such, and add more technology so that students can, if they want to print material, they want to have computers, they will have those as well. And kind of create like a community commons environment with the background as a library that has a librarian who can help the students whoever comes to the library. So that's our basic announcement about the library. The athletics decision is, again, looking at, we have athletics program on all three of our institutions. In fact, Linden and Johnson have separate programs. Castleton has its own program. At Williston, we do not have athletics program, but at Randolph, we have athletics programs as well. So we propose that we will keep the Castleton program as such. It is an NCAA program. We will also keep Linden program as NCAA because we have the infrastructure there, we have staff there, we have also had enough number of athletes. On the Johnson campus, we have fewer athletes, and we have historically had trouble meeting the minimum requirements of sports sponsorships. What does that mean is that NCAA requires that we field at least 10 teams in 10 different sports, 5 men and 5 women. And we have not been meeting that consistently. In the past, we received waivers, but currently we are on probation. So if we are to stay there, we have to invest more resources into it. That would mean that more recruitment of students, maybe more full-time coaches. And NCAA also requires that we invest in our facilities so that other teams can come and play there as well. So based on all of that, we decided that we would change from NCAA to USCAA program, which is also a national conference in which students can compete and all the way to national championships. But that conference is more flexible. It's more flexible that you are not required to have at least 5 or 10 teams. You could go with less. It depends on whatever athletes you've been able to recruit and what the interest is of the students. And you can go with 3 teams, 4 teams, as many you want to field in. And based on all of that, we decided that for that campus, it would make more sense for us to move to USCAA. On the Randolph campus, we have currently about 60 athletes, and it is a USCAA program. On the Randolph campus, most of our students come here for the technical programs, engineering, architecture, civil engineering, mechanical, electromechanical engineering, and all. The students that we have, the 60 or so students, some of them are in business program. Here, there is a big club culture at VTC, and we want to build on that. And again, we have struggled to meet even the fewer teams that we have at the Randolph campus. So we propose to build a club sports program here so that more students can participate, whether they are coming for engineering, and if they have played in the school, they would have the opportunity to play as a club sport. So those are our decisions basically that we have announced this last week. And now I've been going to each campus, listening to students, listening to faculty, and already have visited first the Randolph campus, then to Castleton. Yesterday, we were in Johnson. Tomorrow, I would be in Williston, and then going to Linden.
And how are those visits been going, Mr. President?
The visits have been pretty heated. These are, as you know, very important to a lot of people, both of these areas, and a lot of students and faculty are raising questions related to why we have to go this route, why we have to make this decision. The decision that the underlying factors that went into these decisions are, of course, financial. As you know, that we are to reduce our expenses by $5 million each year to get to where we could kind of start to break even. And in addition, all these other factors that I described, because the library we are we are getting less and less requests for the physical books and materials from everyone that uses it. And on the athletic side, I just explained the reasons that went into this decision, in addition to financial, because if we are to build a program further or to be compliant, then we need to more invest. And right now, we don't have investment that we can make.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really appreciate your appearing before our committee today. And I do want to say at the outset, based on what I read in newspapers and online publications, I disagree with the decision that's been made, or the decisions, if you will. But I do appreciate you coming before us, and I do have some questions and hope to flesh this out, so to speak, with some answers. So I read news reports that indicated the decision was based on a survey that was offered to students at the 5 institutions. Is that correct?
So the way it's reported, people are picking up on one thing or the other. And this decision has been complex decision. It involves a financial piece. It involved the use of the material that is a record that the library keeps. And we, on the top of that, we did also do a survey of the students. Before we did the survey, the library team actually had met with our student advisory committee. That student advisory committee, we've been bouncing off many different ideas over the last year and a half with them. And each time we have a topic. So there was a topic one time on the library. And based on that, the survey then was developed and sent out to the students, and several reminders. The survey was sent out sometimes in October, but then with several reminders, the survey was closed in spring. And based on the responses, we received about 500 responses, and majority of the student basically said that they prefer, or their first preference is for electronic materials. When I was on campuses, students did show that some of the students want to have, touch and feel physical books. It's a great browsing experience when they are in the library. And some people have learning disability, for example, and they would want to have material that's physical so that they can, feel and read it or absorb the material.
Right.
On that, we are required by law to provide the material to those students in the way they can learn better.
So does 500 responses equal about 10% of the student population, as I understand?
That's correct.
Okay. So let's, if I could, talk about the breakdown. One of the questions was, what is your primary institution? And the highest percentage of responses came from CCD students. Can you tell us how many books are housed at the Hartness Library at CCD in Randolph?
I cannot give you the number at a specific library as of now. I can get you that, but our total collection is about 350,000 volumes.
Okay. I think Castleton has Calvin Coolidge Library, and I understood there were 400,000 books there. So we may have a difference of something in terms of the total number of books. What's the plan? Go ahead.
Sorry, I can get you the number, at each library, what do we have?
Okay. So what would be the plan for those books? Do municipal libraries actually have the capacity to accept that amount of books?
We have not developed a plan yet as to how we will, manage the books and who we will give to. We have thought about different ways of handling that. The first and foremost is to engage with our faculty by department, by program, so that they can select the absolutely essential books and materials that they need to keep. So that's one. And then the remaining, there are some books that librarians will tell us that they are in such a shape that they would not hold So some of them, need to be discarded that way. Other books, as I said, we don't have a totally figured out plan as to how they will be divested. But they will be offered to local libraries, they will be offered to national libraries if some people want to take it, or they would be donated as people would need it. But that said, there are some donated materials from patrons, and then there are also some high-priced, high-valued historical documents, and we would want to keep that and determine where the housing of those would occur depending upon the department's need.
Okay, so earlier you mentioned that you had a 96% versus 4% in terms of online versus printed books. Of course, you realize that the number of times a book is checked out really doesn't have a lot of relationship to the number of times it might be used or read in the library and even copied or scanned. So I'm not sure that 96 and 4 is completely accurate, but that's okay. I did get a look at the survey, by the way. I have to question, most of them had to do with online services, but nowhere did I see a question that asked students whether they would favor removing books and printed material. Did I miss that on the survey?
No, that question was not asked. It was not the intent at that time to take this decision that we have taken. As you can imagine, a transformation team working on it for about a year, thinking about, looking at all kinds of data as to how do we bring all the different campus libraries together, how we serve our students centrally, because library will become part of the shared services run out of the chancellor's office. So this question was not asked because that was not something that was being contemplated at that time. After all the information got gathered and my cabinet came together, and we decided based on financial issues, based on that any input that we could draw from that survey, based on the record that we have, the 96 and 4% that I mentioned, and how expensive it has become to house journals, for example, for scholarly journals. So if a faculty member needs a reprint, we will get them the reprint because those are electronically available. And so we pay as we go rather than getting all the volumes of a journal. So it kind of, the financial decisions also went into this whole proposal. So it's like a modernizing approach where we will keep some books, we will keep essential high value materials that will be available to students as well as the community. But as more and more people requesting electronic material, so it just made sense to kind of move in that direction. Even maintaining the volumes of books that we have, 30% of our library's budget just goes in cataloging and maintaining the books. And then, so many of them are not being used. So that is a huge cost for us to continue as we come out of the crisis that we are currently in.
Okay. So before the decision was made regarding the libraries, I'm really not going to talk about the athletic programs. I think that's beyond our purview here. Before the decision was made, what sort of input did the administration get from the faculty, staff, and alumni? And what about members from the general community surrounding the institutions who also use the libraries? Did you survey them?
So we did not survey our local communities. We did include the student, like the student survey that we have. So no, I can agree that it is a limited survey, right? We would have, if we gotten 20% responses, like 1,000 students, that would have been better. But we did include on the transformation team that worked on the library, we did have a faculty member on it. We also had librarians on that team who worked throughout the year to look into how the library will become more digital. And they actually proposed the library should become digital first. But they did not propose that it's to be 100% digital.
Okay. The whole decision seemed to come as a surprise. Now, I'm from the Rutland County District, so I only know about Castleton. But if you had a faculty member on this transformation team, apparently they didn't communicate very well with anybody else, because when the announcement was made, there were, and I don't mean this lightly, there were shockwaves throughout my community about the decision. I'll just let that sit. And you mentioned that part of this has to do with the economics, and I understand that. You know, we're in a very bad situation right now with respect to our college system. If that's true, how much does it cost to digitize a book? And what is the total cost to go digital, if you will? In other words, if the move was made to save money, there has to be an attendant cost on the other side if we're going to digitize all these books. And I don't see how we're going to do that by July 1st anyway, but just if you could just talk about the cost.
Right. So we don't, plan to digitize all the books that are not being used for so long. Only those books that are frequently used, that are relevant, because we have old almanacs, volumes, so many things that we have that are not being utilized, and the information evolves and changes. The cost is figured in a way that as things are requested, so we will pay for just the requested material. So most often it is a book chapter out of a book, or it is a reprint that is requested. So we will, or an ebook. So it is the cost that we have currently, with 30% of our budget just focused on just keeping the books, and then all the stuff that is that we have in the library to be able to handle that is our current cost. So we believe that by going digital, as we've been experiencing during the COVID time, we would be able to substantially reduce our cost, but the actual cost would vary every year depending upon how many people are requesting.
Okay. Again, I don't mean to dominate the question, but I do have a couple more. So can you talk about the employees who were let go? Again, all I know is what I read. So, and you're clearing up a lot of this, Mr. President. I have to say, it sounds like you're not actually going to take every last book out of a library and throw it across the street and be done with it. It sounds like there is sort of a medium place here. But what about the employee? I read there were 7 people that were let go, and then 3 who were full-time that will be reduced to part-time status. Is that a right number? And what are you going to do? So
there are 7 like a permanent employees full-time. The 3 are temporary employees or temporary employees. Those would be let go. We are not letting go any professional librarian. So we are keeping them. These are staff that worked in library. Some of them obviously worked for many years, and we feel for them. But at the same time, we have told them that there are currently jobs open in the university that you could apply for other jobs, and if you qualify, you could get that job. And I have also instructed my entire cabinet leadership team that do not post any positions outside the university until we are done with our work here. Because that way, if more jobs open in any other area, any employee that would be affected this way has the first dib on that internal job. And these people have worked hard, and they have built good relationships. They have helped students. And we are actually expanding our advising model, where we are hiring more student advisors so that we can enhance our retention of the students. So some of these experienced employees could, find jobs in that kind of area.
I just have one more, and then if anybody else on the committee has questions, by all means. And these suggestions came from someone whose opinion I respect a lot, one of the people at Castleton. And I think you've answered some of them. If you could agree to, first, a thorough and professional audit of the collections to ensure that nothing is disposed of that is unavailable digitally. That's the first piece of what this person would like to see happen. And I think you already answered the second one. Continued possession and circulation of physical materials not available online. And the third one is the maintenance of existing interlibrary loan relationships, which provide access to physical materials, which are also not available digitally. That was the request from someone, again, that I really respect. So I'll let it go at that. You've answered a lot of my questions. Again, I'm not sure you convinced me that the decision was the correct one, but I really do appreciate your coming. I know this can't be very comfortable for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I know that there is a lot of things. It is, we have emotional attachment with the books, right? I wrote books and chapters in books, and I read book pretty much one book every month on average. It is important, and we have to make some tough decisions. The situation we are in, and considering all the factors, we have to go in this direction. I know that it is hard, and we are taking the heat for it, as you can see it. But it is how the society is evolving. More and more people going for convenience of ordering the things from their home, from the nursing sites, and we have students that are fully enrolled online. They never even come to the campus. So these materials also help serve those students too. So appreciate coming here. I know that a lot more people would be listening and explaining where we came from for this decision.
Pretty, who else?
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Well, sure, I guess more committee members that want to ask a few questions. I guess mine is more of a comment. I'm sure that you have your visiting tour that you're going through is going to let a lot of your stakeholders within your community have say as far as how they feel about that decision. And I'm just hoping we understand cost cutting. I mean, I understand cost cutting. I think that if anybody really knew me well, they would say that I'm a numbers guy. I understand numbers, and I understand that sometimes hard decisions have to be made. We're hoping that the backlash that we're hearing is going to be eased by your communications with them, so that your decisions to save money isn't going to cost you money from enrollment or lack of enrollment. And we're trusting you as stakeholders. We have a very big vested interest for so many reasons, and most of it isn't money, but there is a fair amount of money for you to have continued success. I mean, I don't think that you have any bigger rooters for your success than in this building. But I'm hoping that as you move forward, you can pacify some of these concerns of the people that are closest to you, and that moving forward, you're able to explain to other people who might be looking at your institutions for furthering education, that you can convince them that you've made the right decision and that you've got their best interest at heart as they look to come to you to expand their lives.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that comment. And we will continue to work diligently. Every student is important to us. This is, again, enrollment is the key for our survival. So we are trying to become more efficient, less costly. We reduced our tuition already with your support. Again, thank you for what you invested in over the last 2 years. So we are hoping, and we are kind of opening the door to students who cannot even afford to live on campus, because already our we were only residential colleges, so only students who could come to campus and stay there, pay for everything. Now you could have students who are working. They could have a job, but continuously also still engage with us and work on their degree slowly and get their materials at home. And we have so many sites. If they do not have internet at home, they can reach out just 5 miles drive. We are all throughout the state. We have sites that they could engage in. And we are hoping to engage our local high schools also, because at some schools we do not have many students, so there are fewer teachers. So if some of our faculty can teach some of the courses through this modern one-on-one device basis in-person plus system, so we could help those high school students also engage with the university, and they can receive the library services same way as well.
Sure. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. So we have the letter from the Student Government Association of Castleton, and I thought that their concerns are reasonable, and I hope that you'll consider their concerns and have an open mind and not just explain what the decision has been, but consider amending that decision. And I think it's really important to just, like, for me, Vermont is a place, it's a small state, right? It's not Arizona. It's not a place where we are remote. Campuses all over the country had a lot of difficulty when they went online. The educational experience was not the same, and it was much worse for them. There's something about being together that is very important to learning. I think that's fundamental. So I agree. It's very important to have online learning and access to materials, but I think it's fundamental to have physical just access and people being together. I mean, we found in the legislature, I wasn't here during COVID, but what I've heard from everyone who was here is that it's much better and we make better decisions when we're in the same room. So there's a civility aspect to it also, and there's learning how to work as a group, because part of public education is to support public institutions and governance and society. So I think getting rid of a library is damaging to that. Getting rid of a physical library is damaging to that. So I just hope that you do keep an open mind and hear the students, not just as a group to be mollified or placated, but as an important resource.
Yeah, absolutely. You make some really, really good points that we need to be very careful about. How do we move forward from here? Our plan is to engage the students in re-envisioning the spaces for the benefit of the students, so that we still keep the feel for the library, keep the feel for create spaces for their group work, learning, and all the things that they need, so that it is a community commons, it is that family environment. And we definitely want to even kind of make that space even better, and still it will be called a library because people can access material from there. There's a librarian there also that will be still in the building. So I hear you, and I did receive that from the students. In fact, the students have proposed that they will help out, because they are saying that we don't want you to give the books away, but we can create pods or small, things throughout the campus where we could keep different types of books so that students can access them and pick them up by themselves. As Vermont is actually quite progressive from this perspective, there are those kinds of things everywhere that people can take a book out and add a book to that particular part. So I think there are some, innovative ways to even that can enhance access to the local community also, that people can walk into the campus and on different places, they can find what they need and pick up the book that they need.
Mr. President, you say you're visiting the campuses now and talking to all the students. Looking back, do you think that should have been before you made the decision, at least get their input? Not that probably would change your mind, but at least have them be involved before you made a decision. Now the decision's been made, I understand it's there to stay, which is fine. But I would have thought that you went to the campuses beforehand, listen to the students, then come back and say, okay, after going over all the plus and minuses, this is the decision we made. Just a thought.
Well, right, that's an important point, and I have gone back and forth on that. In fact, if you might remember when I came last time, that I actually started my presidency with listening sessions. I did not go to my main office the very first day, lined up listening session on every campus, started in Johnson, faculty separate, students separate, staff separate, and completed that in my first 2 weeks. And thereafter did the second campus identity and visioning sessions where invited the community and have open discussions. Based on that, we developed our 3 top strategic priorities. The first one is basically this: to become a first statewide hybrid university in the country. And the second is to become a career-ready university where every student gets at least 1 micro-credential on their transcript, no matter what major they choose, so that they are more job ready. And the third, to become a community engaged university that serves as a catalyst for rural transformation, because all our campuses are in rural areas. And so community engagement and building intellectual capital in each community is important to us. And our first decision of the library goes very well with becoming a hybrid university. But yes, I agree that these 2 decisions could have been socialized a little early. But then there are multiple members on my team, and the transformation projects people have worked on, that these are decisions that are tough. Even if we ask people that we'll take the library 100% digital, I don't know. Even at that time, many people would have said that's not good. Even athletics is so important to everyone. So these are hard financial based decisions that we have to make.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Mr. President. You mentioned a 30% cost on repairing books, maintaining them, and I'm wondering if what would happen if you just let books attrition? Some people, instead of doing layoffs, let their employees attrition. Could you just let the books go that are not something you can afford to upkeep as a way to save money without taking your whole collection and giving it away? Could you cancel the journal descriptions that are costing so much money and yet have that on demand that you mentioned, sort of a hybrid way of keeping the library intact and yet doing the money saving things that I've heard you talk about?
You are absolutely right. We could do that. Then what we have is the space. The books are utilizing the space as well. Yes, we will keep some. The reading process will be done in collaboration with faculty. The journals, that decision from July 1, we would no longer be. We will cancel all our subscriptions for physical journals, because those are now available electronically, and we will request only a reprint, a chapter, out of a journal. No need to continue to get all those, volumes and volumes of material that take so much space and cost so much money. Yes.
Continue.
Please.
Yeah, the idea of not having paper journals, to me, I think is a very ecological and sound decision in that respect for the environment. I'm all for that. I also understand that when I looked into it a while back, reading on paper does improve comprehension. And when all of us are on our screens all the time, we talk about that visual fatigue that we have. So I'm all for maintaining the books that you have that have not disintegrated or that don't need rebinding. I'm also curious as to what the costs are to upgrade that space that you talked about. And also online books cost money as well. I mean, when you get a Kindle edition, yes, it's less expensive than the paper version, but there are costs to converting to a digital library. Have you had a chance to look into the cost of upgrading space as well as the cost of upgrading the books themselves, which may be a touch on?
Right. We are working on that piece right now. We have budgeted about $500,000 for all our campuses to re-envision those library spaces. It wouldn't be, a major renovation or anything like that, but it is kind of repurposing those spaces in collaboration with students and the campus community folks to get innovative ideas so that we can look like a very modern library that we can show when parents and students come in to look for college.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. President, I just want to thank you very much for coming in and explaining your position on that. I think it was very helpful today. Again, I don't think you have bigger rooters than what's in this room and then within this building. Your success is our success, and appreciate you coming in and explaining it. And I want to wish you good luck as you go around your campuses and explain what you're up to. And I hope it all turns well. It's important. It's important for us that it does, and we wish you success and appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much. It was my honor, and we appreciate your support. We talk it about all the time. That's the only way we can make this transformation, because we can tell our faculty staff that the legislature has been behind us, has been supporting us, and it reduces the pain.
Well, you give us, you give our children places to go where, sometimes affordability is an issue. And I think that anybody who's graduated from any of those institutions has gone out there with a world-class education. That's important to us. It's important to our state. It's important to our communities and our families itself. So thank you for what you do. Good luck. And we appreciate you coming in. And we look forward to maintaining a great partnership with you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a good day. Thank you.
Full committee, I hope you got your,
I appreciate it. Yep.
I hope everybody got a chance to chat about it.